And I want to bring in Alicia Nieves on Wall Street with more on just the trade implications of this summit, because there's no denying that either, Alicia, that is top of mind for both of these countries. Trade is dominating the talks. I mean, heck, look at the fleet of CEOs that came with the president on Air Force One. And there's optimism among investors. How are they watching this moment?
Yeah, good morning, Markie. I mean, even as you were listening to Chinese President Xi Jinping and President Trump speak, their speeches seem to dominate a tone of the economic relationship between these two major nations, the two, biggest economies in the world. You had President Xi Jinping, toasting to the bright future between China and U.S. relations. And then I know you noted President Trump kind of gave us a history lesson on our long-standing relationship, calling it a bond of commerce that has stretched over 250 years. Now, I know a lot of us were hoping to hear some more solid details of a possible trade deal or, actual outline of some deals. We didn't get that, but I think in the hours to come, particularly after the two leaders, meet, there's a lot of expectation here on Wall Street that we could see an announcement of a deal that would help U.S. sectors that have struggled over the last year as tensions, have risen between those two nations, the China and the United States. Certainly hoping for a deal that could even help ease U.S. inflation and the pressures that a lot of consumers have been under. We're hoping, and I know I've heard from a lot of investors and people here on Wall Street, that there's a few scenarios that can come out of this. Everything from a renewal of the trade truce that was reached last October during APEC to China agreeing to major multi-billion-dollar purchases of U.S. goods. Kind of the cleanest win would certainly be a confirmation of that tariff truce extended. That would show markets that the two sides are not heading towards, another immediate round of escalation like we saw over the last year. And you mentioned, a lot of CEOs that are at this banquet. Boeing CEO, he is there as well. There's a lot of expectation that we could see a Boeing aircraft order. That would be a major symbolic win, not only a win for Boeing, but a win for the Trump administration and the America jobs message that it is touted, both as a candidate Trump campaigned and now President Trump. There's another significant deal that I think would matter a lot to the farming industry here in the United States, a potential major farm purchase, especially for producers like soybean growers who have really been caught in the crosshairs and in the middle of this U.S.-China trade fight that's lasted over the last year. I mentioned earlier tone was significant to Wall Street today, and I was looking at the market movement ahead of the markets actually opening, and just in the positive tone between the two leaders, we saw markets move a little bit higher. There's also, this added look into oil. I know you've mentioned that and focused on that strongly of the Strait of Hormuz. If China could help with opening up the strait, there's a lot of pessimism of that happening anytime soon. But I will say, 80 to 90% of Iran's oil is purchased by China. So China certainly has some leverage there. And it is a part of the talks that are happening. So we're waiting at Wall Street, and I think most people around the country and the world, on any actual details that come out of this meeting in terms of an actual deal, Markie.
Yeah, there is no sector in the entire world that doesn't have their eyes on outcomes of this summit right now. I know you said we don't yet have an outline of any deals, but surely that is to come here in the coming days and weeks. Alicia Nieves live on Wall Street for us. Thank you. And we will have more coverage this morning of President Trump's high-stakes summit with the president of China. Up next, why it's not just Taiwan that's been a thorny issue for those two world leaders.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.